Welcome to the By Design radio program. My name is Dr. James Proodian of Proodian Healthcare and ProodianHealthcare.com, where health literacy is the key to longevity. And as long as God has us on this side of eternity, my show is designed to help educate you and your families to feel better, function better, and live as many quality disease-free years as possible. Thanks for joining me this week, and I hope you had a blessed week. We're in a conversation on fatigue, and I think I'm in week 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many weeks I'm into this. I'm going to keep going until I complete all of the 8 points that we're talking about, the 8 common causes of fatigue. Last week we did nutrition and how the biochemical nature of a lot of the man-made food is highly inflammatory. I shared with you 90% of the food budget is spent on inflammatory food. I backed that up with an article that you could look or go find from Time Magazine from 2004, and that was called The Secret Killer. And we're realizing that there are many components of fatigue. We talked about, the disease process. We talked about pharmaceutical medication. That was number 2. Number 3 was stress. Then we talked through sleeping patterns, which was 4, along with gastrointestinal problems, which was 5. And now we're doing nutrition, which is 6 of the 8. Our diet, or the type of food that the Industrial Revolution has ushered into our country and into the world, is highly responsible for creating things such as bad fats, rancid fats, man-made fats that we talked about last time, very rich in these omega-6 fatty acids that are highly inflammatory. And we do not want to live in an inflammatory state. We also talked about when we started to feed things such as cornmeal to our cows, that wild game that a cow used to be, wild game is 2 to 4% fat by weight. Now they're almost 1/4% fat by weight because we've created these man-made juicy animals. So 90% of the food supply is this highly inflammatory food. From an epidemiological perspective, obesity and type 2 diabetes has been directly linked to the change of our food supply over the 40, 50, 60 years. I also shared with you that we're consuming now 150 pounds of table sugar per year per person. It used to be like 10, 15 pounds a year back in the 30s and 40s. And table sugar is the leading cause of obesity and type 2 diabetes. So we're taking a stance here and looking at it from the perspective of what man has introduced to our diet, where 90% of the food supply is mostly grains, sugars, omega-6 fatty acids, trans fats, sugar and high-fat meat, and we are substantially deficient in fruits and vegetables, that the result is this inflamed, swollen-looking, overweight society where 30-40% of Americans are clinically obese or moving rapidly towards that number. And we're prone to a lot of the itises. I-T-I-S at the end of a word is inflammation. So if we have colitis, arthritis, neuritis, and we're eating a diet rich in inflammation, well, that's kind of silly. It doesn't make any sense that if we're already inflamed, why would we continue to eat inflammation? That would be like running on a swollen ankle. That would be kind of a foolish thing to do. So my wife Stacy blames me a lot of being very theoretical and scientific with my approach, and I don't want to leave my audiences with the, well, what do I do now? And it's relatively simple, guys. If you look at the plate that you're eating, and remember, there's no such thing as breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Let's look at our plate and our plates throughout the day. More frequent, smaller meals is the way our bodies are designed to eat. Not 3 large meals a day that are going to cause a great deal of energy to be taken away from other systems in our body to digest food. We don't want to do that. We don't want to burden or overload our gastrointestinal system. We want our system to constantly be digesting small amounts of food. So let's start by drinking a lot of water. What does that mean? Let's remove soda. Let's remove energy drinks. Let's remove caffeinated beverages. Having a cup of black coffee a day, okay. In certain situations, that's fine. Herbal teas are fine, decaffeinated herbal teas. But let's start by giving our body, which is made up of 60 to 70% of our body is water. So let's start there. Number 2, let's reduce the consumption of bad sugars and starches. So high fructose corn syrup, white flour, white rice, things that have no nutritional value, that are just filling up our guts and causing a insulin response. Let's stay a bit hungry at the end of every meal. That's right. At the end of a meal, you should not feel stuffed like you do on Thanksgiving. You want to stay a little bit hungry and eat more frequently and learn to eat healthier fats. Extra virgin olive oil, flaxseed oil, coconut oil, wonderful oils to have in your home. Eliminate and reduce Bob's foods. So get rid of what man is making for us, and we're going to shop the perimeter of our grocery store, because man has really populated our aisles. I mean, buy your toilet paper in the aisles, but why are we buying stuff out of a can anymore? We want to eat whole, fresh foods that are nutrient dense and eat them as close to the way God created the food, okay? We want to watch the stress foods, the whole fat dairy, the fatty meats, the fried food, the fast food, the snack food, the processed food, the white flour, the white salt, the white sugar, the white rice. Really keep a very careful eye on this. My road to better health began when I was 19 years old. As a pre-med student, I just stopped drinking soda. I never looked back. It was just, I found out how harmful this product was, and I stopped drinking it. So baby steps are a great way to start. You just start by eliminating buying that specific food product. If you do not bring it into your house, you cannot consume it. If you bring it in your house and put it on your shelves, you and your family will consume it. Pretty simple. Let's look at buying dark green leafy vegetables, an abundance of vegetables and fruit, cold water fish, particularly from the Pacific Northwest, grass-fed protein, nuts and seeds, and water. Now, just quickly about supplements. Supplements could absolutely be helpful in reducing fatigue, but they are called supplements for a reason. You cannot replace a healthy nutritional diet. You cannot replace healthy lifestyle habits. So we want to avoid supplements that claim to improve your energy immediately, like at the checkout counters, 10-hour energy, 8-hour energy, I don't know what they're all called. They may have, and typically do have, artificial or herbal stimulants that can be unhealthy. So be conscious of the fact that, out there is a lot of product that people are trying to sell us. God created food. Food comes first. And that is the place where we as human beings want to become more literate about. So as we go out for our dinners, choose wisely. Ask questions. Eat broiled food as opposed to fried food. You can order healthy at a restaurant. You can avoid dessert. And if you eat dessert, follow the palm rule. No bigger than the size of your palm. All right, so there's plenty of things that we could do, because nutrition absolutely causes fatigue. Poor nutrition is a primary cause of fatigue. Let's move on to our next subject matter, deconditioning. Our bodies now, if we are dealing with a disease, or we're dealing with a medication, or we're dealing with stress, and normally people are dealing with many of these things, poor nutrition, poor GI system, our bodies end up in this deconditioned state. So deconditioning is the next root cause of fatigue. And what this means, guys, is our bodies are working at a less than optimal function. Respiratory, circulatory, immune, musculoskeletal, our nervous system. This is caused by inadequate maintenance for an extended period of time. Now, let's take what I just said and apply that to an appliance in your house, or your car, or your roof, or one of the many things that you and I both have to take care of around our home. If we did not maintain our car or our roof or an appliance, and it was working at less than optimal function, it would break. We could all agree upon that. We don't change the oil in our car. We don't change the windshield wipers. If we don't, get our tires rotated or have proper tire pressure, these are ways where we maintain an automobile, for instance. Our bodies, many of us, go through our lives and we say, I feel good, therefore I must be okay. Yet our respiratory system, our circulatory system, our immune system, musculoskeletal, nervous, are breaking down over time. I don't know about you, but I think God designed me for me to have the responsibility to work at an optimal potential. He gave me this incredible miracle of life, which we start off as 2 cells and we grow into this gigantic bag of trillions and trillions of cells. Our job is to maintain that. That is the goal, and that is the responsibility He has given us. So I want to do the things in my life from a nutritional, a physical, and a psychological perspective to maintain optimal function. And if I don't, I will end up in a deconditioned state. So deconditioning puts the body in a state where it is open for an autoimmune disease, a musculoskeletal disorder, and pain, circulatory disorder. And for an extended period of time, we're breaking down and we end up in this deconditioned state. So if we find ourselves in that deconditioned state, you can go to, for instance, drproodian.com, which is my blog site, and look up. A few months ago, I did something called the home mirror tests. And these are pictures and illustrations that I do right in my office at Natural Healthcare Center with my patients to test their functionality. This is physical. Can you squat? Can you do a proper lunge? Can you touch your toes? There are basic physiological and physical properties that we want to measure in people to see if they are or in the process of becoming deconditioned. I mean, having the ability to squat properly is a very important component to our physical being. So that's deconditioning. It absolutely will cause fatigue, the lack of conditioning in our body. And I don't mean we're trying to look like bodybuilders or powerlifters or be able to run 100 meters in 9 seconds. I'm talking about basic physiological condition that we are, ordained basically to maintain. We have the responsibility of taking care of this physical, nutritional, and psychological body. Now let's move on to the next one, and I kind of just talked about it a little bit, but many people don't realize that mechanical and physical stress can tap our systems of energy. And I could prove this to you. If anybody out there has had a headache, back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, ankle pain, foot pain, wrist pain, all of the variety of pains that we have, you know that you are tired by the end of the day because physical, mechanical pain takes energy away from us. And if you couple that with a poor diet, now you're dealing with a double whammy where you're dealing with physical pain and nutritional pain, and it's robbing your system of energy. Roger Sperry, who's a PhD and a Nobel Prize winner for brain research, once said, the more mechanically distorted a person is, the less energy is available for thinking, metabolism, and healing. So the more mechanically distorted a person is, the less energy is available for thinking, metabolism, and healing. That means if your body is mechanically distorted, for instance, you can't do a proper squat test, you can't turn your head 80 degrees to the right or to the left, you can't do a proper sit-up, you're carrying around too much weight, you're on a medication, you're under a great deal of stress, your adrenal glands are taxed out, you're eating a diet that is not a God-given diet but a man-made diet, you're going to have less energy from thinking, metabolism, and healing. And this is why we accumulate stress in the base of our skull, our temples, the top of our shoulders, between our shoulder blades, and our lower back. That's why when somebody starts rubbing our shoulder blades kind of at the end of a day, it feels so good because stress will accumulate in these body parts, and they're all behind us. No one has ever come into my office complaining of front pain. Everybody has back pain. Why does everybody have back pain? Because we walk on 2 feet. So the muscles that hold us in the erect posture are constantly being worked, and those muscles require maintenance. So the less energy that's available for taking care of those things, and if we're deconditioned, those muscles begin to break down, they cause pain and dysfunction and tension, and they rob you of energy. Okay, so the reconditioning process, remember, we're talking about deconditioning and muscle stress. We want to recondition our body, which will have far reaching healthful effects on all of our major body systems. Regular exercise is essential for this. It also improves mental health, self-esteem, sense of accomplishment. Reconditioning is important as we monitor a patient with blood testing, blood pressure, heart rate, functional capacity. These are all things in which people like me are trained in. We want to design a program for your unique need. So if we're dealing with a bunch of the things that we're talking about that are causing fatigue, the program you should be under should be designed for you at the phase of life that you're in. It's not cookie cutter, one shoe size fits all. The way you eat is going to be different from the guy up the street, because you may have a gut issue or a hypersensitivity to gluten, or maybe you're going through menopause, or you're dealing with a lot of back pain. And food can cause pain because it's inflammatory. So putting all of these dots together can be complicated, but there is hope. So remember, we want to seek out professional help if we are dealing with a multi-pronged aspect of deconditioning. Consult with a specialist. And there are a variety of forms of exercises: strength, endurance, coordination, flexibility exercises. These are all very, very important forms of exercise for you to recondition your body, along with a proper nutritional program and stress program. Thank you for joining me, Dr. James Proodian, this week for an episode of the By Design radio program. As we are starting to conclude, which I'll do into next week, fatigue, and I'll move on to a new subject matter. I really am very thankful for all of you guys listening to me every week, and I hope you implement the day-to-day changes into your life so that we are following God's design and not man's design. Have a blessed week.